From what I know, this is genuinely a bipartisan issue. I mean, look at California. With all of its problems, California has actually been on the front lines of this issue for years. I mean, back in October of 2023, Gavin Newsom signed the California Food Safety Act, which banned red dye 3 and many other additives from foods sold statewide. Obviously, this is not effective yet, but it will be effective in 2027. He later expanded this to be the California.
Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I was watching Brett Cooper and I just want to give my take on what she's talking about.
School Food Safety Act, which he signed in September of last year, so a year after that, which banned 6 synthetic dyes, blue 1, blue 2, green 3, red 40, yellow 5, yellow 6, from public school meals. And this passed with massive bipartisan support, and the reasoning was the major behavioral concerns stemming from these ingredients. Everybody on both sides was able to come together because we care about children, because we care about our health, and that should be what we are focusing on with this new legislation, with what RFK and what the FDA are wanting to do with these ingredients. So if you go online and you, God forbid, see people chugging bottles of red dye 40 on TikTok or whatever it is, just know these are outliers, these are idiots, and they would rather give themselves cancer or hyperactivity than admit that a Trump appointee is doing something good. And while I am almost always the first person to say,
I'm sorry. If someone is actively drinking red dye 40 or any of those artificial coloring solely by itself, those people, I would say, need to go into an insane asylum to get mentally evaluated, because that don't make no sense. You're gonna get yourself sick, because at that point you're gonna be getting yourself sicker than you would if you had just eaten something that has those in there, because you're gonna consume it at a greater amount and a greater dosage.
That what Trump is doing is good. There was a proposed policy from last week that I do think misses the mark, and that would be his proposed solution to fixing the declining birth rate. So obviously, as you guys probably know, we are facing a major population decline. This is happening globally, but we are facing it here in the United States as well. And since his campaign was started, Trump has said that he would get into office and he would work on turning this around and trying to implement pro-family policies. And since then, his team has been dropping hints about what they're considering and how to actually put this into motion. And the big one from last week that they ended up putting in the New York Times was a $5,000 baby bonus. So mothers would receive a one-time payment for having a baby. And I just think that this is a ridiculous idea. Like, I get the intention behind it, but you can't evaluate policy based on the intentions. You have to think about how it will actually play out in our economy.
So, I said this in the previous video that I agree with it under certain situations. But I just want to say that I agree with it also if it's not just a one-time thing, if it's if it's an yearly thing where once a year a parent will get $5,000 for that year to help and assist in taking care of their kids. I agree with it. But if it's just a one-time thing at birth, then that's not really helping me in any way, because that's basically me trying to get myself into debt in order to gain $5,000 one time. I don't think that would be a rational financial decision to make.
And in our society. And considering the fact that raising a child costs at least $20,000, and that is on the conservative low end, a one-time $5,000 payment is just not going to cut it. Like, that is not incentive enough to have people be procreating and starting families. Plus, we literally just saw 5 years ago how all of those stimulus checks worked out. Like, it drained our economy. It made no lasting impact on the financial situation of Americans that were hurting during COVID. And this idea is basically just welfare, but rebranded as Republican pro-family welfare. And also, on top of all of that, it has been tried in other countries time and time again. Other people have had the same idea, which is a good idea. Like, the intention is there, I understand it, but it just doesn't work. For example, in this one article, they said other countries have tried direct payments to parents. Russia began offering a one-time sum of about $7,000 to families with more than 2 kids, while Italy and Greece have experimented with per-child baby bonuses. In 2019, Hungary introduced a loan of around $30,000. That's a lot better than $5,000, just saying.
So with that one, where you get a loan of $30,000, that one, if that one is a one-time thing, cool, I'll do that one, because I could get the loan, potentially start a business with that $30,000, or invest in it in some way where I can get a dividends from it for the lifetime of my family. So if they're giving me a loan for $30,000, I'll take that. I'll have myself a kid, probably have myself 2 kids, if that's the case. This one that she just presented from another country, that one is a lot better than the one-time lump sum of $5,000.
Newlyweds. If they have 3 children, then that $30,000 loan is forgiven. From loans to speeches about traditional values, government efforts have generally failed to make much of an impact on people's childbearing decisions. They may shift the timing of the childbirth, but they don't ultimately affect the number of kids people have, says a professor from Johns Hopkins University. And the same goes for the Asian countries that have also tried to reverse their declining birth rates. I mean, they've tried everything from cash payments to subsidies for childcare to payment for IVF, which is another thing that the Trump admin has proposed. And again, it just hasn't worked. So it's not that I am against what Trump is doing because I don't like him or I'm so angry. It's just, I don't think this is logical. And time again, when people are reflecting on these policies and why they haven't been effective, people cite that it is the gender inequality and the demands at work that hold them back from having kids, which women say go hand in hand for them, and the lack of marriageable partners. So it isn't really that they need $5,000 or $7,000 right after they have a baby. Now, obviously, this creates...
So I can see where she's coming from, but I also don't think that it's just a woman problem where the women are choosing not to have kids by themselves. Men are also choosing not to have kids, because a lot of men don't want to have kids because of how the court system and the law is set up when it comes to men and kids, where the man has to fight for the right to see and be a participant in that child's life if the mother doesn't want the father to be in the life of the child, where the mother has the right, the birthright to the child, no questions asked, where the guys are the husband or the baby father, whoever it is, has to fight for it in the court system. If they make it so that once a child is born, you could, and you're the father, you have a right to that child without even stepping in court, then I think that would be a good incentive to make sure that there's more kids being born in this world. And if they also fix the marriage laws, more men would also want to be married and have kids, and then that as well would drive up the birth rate of whichever country. Because again, as of right now, if you are married and you get divorced, there is an incentive for the wife to take both the child and off of your money in a divorce settlement. And then after they take off of your money and your kids in that divorce settlement, they could come back and take even more of your money through child support, which then leave that guy broke and potentially homeless. So guys are not trying to get married to and have kids to a woman nowadays because of that issue that's currently going on in the court system.
major waves on social media, and a lot of people took issue with Trump's idea on the left and the right. I think everybody's just kind of having this big conversation together. But one person who I know personally went particularly viral for his response. This is what Matt Walsh had to propose. He said, policy should drastically favor families with children. Married couples with kids under the age of 18 should not have to pay any income tax, just for starters. Raise taxes on single moms and couples with no kids to make up the difference. Now, I agree with part of what Matt Walsh is saying. Like, I am far more intrigued with the idea of tax breaks for families. I mean, that would actually make life easier for people who feel financially strained at work. But raising taxes on single mothers, I just think that would absolutely backfire, especially if you are excluding single fathers from that scenario. And considering...
Well, I think what he was trying to say is to raise the taxes on single parents rather than single mothers. Because it is beneficial for kids to have two parents in the household. So to discourage people from creating a single parent household, you go ahead and you de-incentivize them from doing that. Where if you're a single mother, you have to pay more taxes. If you're a single father, you're going to pay more taxes.
The nuance of that issue and how emotional it is and how people become single parents, I just don't think that that's right or that it would really work long term. And again, all the evaluations have to be how this would actually play out in our economy and in our society. So then we have to ask, like, is there actually a solution to this? Now, interestingly, when you look at all the statistics and the facts surrounding this issue, the birth rate for married couples in America hasn't declined. It has actually remained steady for decades, except for a little blip in the 2020 to 2024 range when the economy was just such a mess. So it seems like the problem is less about people not wanting to have kids and more about people not getting married. And I'm not sure if that is a problem that the government can fix. I mean, South Korea has tried throwing money at young couples to go out on dates to get married, and again, that is also just not working. And similarly to America, men and women in South Korea are incredibly ideologically split right now. They are not meeting in the middle. They do not want to marry each other. And so while I do believe that there are circumstances where government can influence culture, I'm not sure if stepping in here in this way with the $5,000 bonus will actually help. And the culture certainly won't change if the messenger looks like this.
Inside every dog is a strong...
Now, I do have to apologize for the jump scare because I know that that was shocking and horrifying, and this is not somebody that is pushing pro-family policies in the US or trying to figure out how to make us all have babies, but this man is the new interim chairman of the World Economic Forum, so like it or not, he will be influencing our lives. And I hate it already, and weirdly, there is some crossover with the Kardashians in his story. Now, the way that this all transpired is that Klaus Schwab, who famously has run the World Economic Forum for the last, I don't even know how many decades, he resigned last week to thunderous applause from across the globe, and he and the World Economic Forum, they initially tried to play off this resignation as if he was just stepping down and retiring, and they're so grateful for him, and he's like, oh yes, I'm moving on to new endeavors, all of that stuff, but all of that fluff lasted all of 24 hours because then they promptly launched an investigation into Klaus Schwab on the basis of corruption. Shock of the century. This article says the whistleblower letter allegedly sent by current and former staff accuses Schwab of financial misconduct, including misuse of WEF funds and inappropriate treatment of employees